Access to our courts and the timely resolution of cases is one of the fundamental obligations of state government. Ensuring that Vermont's judicial system is financially sustainable is of utmost importance. In the past year, the judiciary has pitched in to help meet the fiscal challenges. While furloughs and occasional court closings were necessary, they're not acceptable long-term solutions. The recommendations of the Commission on Judicial Operations provide a blueprint for a stronger and more affordable system of justice. I know some ideas are controversial. Some changes depart from long-held traditions, and the necessary rebalancing will affect certain districts and constituencies. But like all of our decisions this year, narrow interests must take a back seat to the broader public interest. The General Assembly must give these recommendations due consideration, finding in them, as I have, a path forward. These are just two steps in the process of building a balanced, responsible, and sustainable budget. The spending plan I'll present on January 19th will be informed by these and other efforts underway to address our $150 million shortfall. With 40% of total state spending in human services, many of the tough choices we must make will affect this system. Service providers will be asked to find efficiencies. Some beneficiaries will have to accept reductions in order to preserve benefits for the most vulnerable. Still, some programs and grants will be significantly reduced or eliminated. But we will lessen these impacts by redesigning how we deliver services. To assure that Vermont's safety net is sound even in the most challenging economic times, we must reform. Our redesigned system will be easy to navigate with a single point of entry and flexible options catering to individual needs. We'll work with service providers to ease their administrative burden. Our focus will be on outcomes for Vermonters, providing a clear and direct path back to health, employment, and independence. Success will be measured not by how much we give, but by how well we help Vermonters move from assistance to self-sufficiency. While our budget deficits are daunting, we must always keep in mind that they are a symptom, not the cause, of the everyday challenges of the people of our state. Last year, Vermonters' median household income fell by nearly $1,900 from the year before. Our workforce has shed more than 10,000 jobs since October of 2008, and Vermont's population is among the slowest growing in the nation, with more people leaving Green Mountain State than moving in. These numbers tell a sobering story. If we want to keep the jobs we have, if we want to get our small businesses to succeed in the global economy, if we want to attract rather than turn away people and potential companies, then we need to focus on the fundamentals. Employers of all sizes and all sectors have made clear what they need to restart the engine of our prosperity. Lower taxes, universal broadband and wireless, reliable, affordable energy, a well-trained workforce, and an education system that is top-notch without being top dollar. A Vermonter who's employed doesn't need an unemployment check. A Vermonter earning a good wage doesn't need state assistance to help pay the bills. And a young Vermonter with a stable job can put down roots and strengthen a community. That's why I call on lawmakers to join me in putting the economic success of Vermonters first. The single most consequential action we can take to encourage a healthy economy is to address the crushing weight of Vermont's tax burden. Time and again, employers tell me that our heavy taxation is stifling job creation, making it more difficult to retain our next generation. Increasing taxes yet again would only hasten our disturbing demographic and employment trends. To spur job growth, we need to take steps to roll back last year's key tax increases, encouraging growing companies with proven incentives, and shore up the Unemployment Insurance Trust Fund with a responsible and balanced approach. As you might remember, I opposed the income and estate tax increases passed by this Assembly last year. Those changes have swelled the ranks of Vermonters who are looking at other states, like New Hampshire and Florida, for their new permanent residences. For those who are quick to say good riddance, think again. When we lose a longtime Vermonter to another state, we lose the community involvement, we lose the charitable giving, and we lose those deep roots that give Vermont its unique character, not to mention the tax revenue. While my first choice would be to unwind all of the increases at once, that's not feasible in the face of our current condition. Instead, we must address the critical components most detrimental to job creation as soon as possible and commit to buy back all of the increases, plus make additional tax cuts when the economy improves. Governor Dick Snelling's plan to respond to the recession of the early 1990s was invoked many times last year to justify tax increases. But one key element of that plan, one that made it palatable at the time, was omitted. I asked the legislature to this year honor the second critical part of the Snelling plan and enact a sunset for its tax hikes while continuing to lock down the income tax rate. This action will send a clear signal to Vermonters and businesses that we're listening to their concerns and working to meet their needs. Further, the estate tax was increased last year to collect a greater portion of assets from deceased Vermonters. This change is particularly unfair to farmers whose assets are not easily mobile. It's a punitive tax that discourages farmers and small business owners from passing along their life's work to sons and daughters. And in the long run, it will have a tangible detrimental effect on our revenues as individuals change their residency to another state. I ask legislators to join me in rolling back this tax increase. Until we lower our overall tax rates to competitive levels, we need programs like the Vermont Employment Growth Incentive as part of our economic development toolkit. Since 2007, this employment program has authorized incentives for nearly 2,000 new jobs and saved more than 2,000 existing jobs that might have been lost if employers chose to relocate out of state. The program has helped employers of all shapes and sizes, from small firms such as Vermont Timber Frames of Bennington, to medium-sized employers like SB Electronics in Barrie, to large companies like Green Mountain Coffee Roasters. As long as our tax burden remains high, I propose eliminating the veggie cap to keep pace with the growing demand from potential employers. These tax proposals are a critical step in our efforts to restore employer confidence and send a message that Vermont is ready to compete for jobs. Unfortunately, the cumulative effect of these changes will still not equal the inevitable increase in unemployment taxes. That's why we must act this year to make our unemployment insurance trust fund solid. A modest reduction in benefits coupled with phased-in increases in the taxable wage base is the prudent course to getting this fund back on solid footing. There are additional investments in economic development that we can make now. I renew my call to use nearly $9 million from the Federal Stimulus Act for job creation. This money will help train workers, provide access to capital for small businesses and farms, promote tourism, and enhance our telecommunications infrastructure. Employers have told us what they need. Now's the time for us to listen and act. When a company comes to our state with 50, 30, or even 15 new jobs, we trip over ourselves to welcome them. When a valued employer is looking to expand or move elsewhere, we work feverishly to keep them here. We have such a company, one that employs hundreds of Vermonters at good wages, makes hundreds of thousands of dollars in charitable contributions, and pays millions in taxes every year. Yet some are eager to shut it down. The decision about Vermont Yankee is central to our economic future and to maintaining a green energy portfolio. And it's a decision that should be left to the federal and state regulators, away from the political fray. For the hundreds of Vermonters employed at Vermont Yankee and many more who benefit from its economic impacts, for the thousands of Vermonters whose jobs depend on our competitive electric rates, and for a stable, clean energy future, the legislature should vote to let the Public Service Board decide the case for relicensing.